Let's start with the elephant in the room, because you guys are nervous Nellies. Oh my God, everything is so scary. The crypto went down 5%. We're all going to die. I'm going to lose all my money. Didn't you show me this chart of global M2 and Bitcoin? Doesn't it mean the Bitcoin's going to 70,000? Calm the down. You all need to grow some cojones, and you need to learn stoicism, inner peace, meditate, do anything but stop bleating on Twitter about your fears all day. If we did that anywhere else, people would get really bored of us. I get really bored of it. So let me talk you through why you should stop your bleating. Firstly, in 2017, we had a new president of the United States that shocked everybody getting voted in, called Donald Trump. He came in on a ticket of tariffs and trade war and onshoring and tax cuts. And now we have a new president called Donald Trump, who is coming in a few days' time on a ticket of tariffs, trade wars, tax cuts, and deregulation. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Well, remember the M2 collapse that we're seeing now, and oh my God, my Bitcoin is going down to 70,000. Do I sell? Do I buy? What do I do? Help me. What does it mean for my shit coins? Okay, it all happened back then too. Global M2 sold off. That was because the dollar went up. So we had exactly the same repeating pattern, which kind of says that global M2 should probably base around here. Again, don't expect perfection, but expect some repeat. Oh, the NASDAQ did something similar too. It would suggest the NASDAQ should be going up pretty sharply now. And lo and behold, today, the NASDAQ has a really strong day. Feels about right. Old Trumpy boy's about to come in. But it's about the dollar. The dollar's been strong. That's what's been driving global M2. And guess what? It was identical back then too. Now, this chart's been copied by every on X because they're too lazy to do their own research. Started with us, as all these charts did. The M2 charts, all of them, was myself and Julian Battelle, a global macro investor, and then Real Vision Pro macro, and then we spread it further with the world, and they all get copied. But I guess it's flattering. What it's suggesting is Scott Bessent speaks, I think tomorrow. He should start signaling, along with Steve Mirren, that the dollar is too strong and it needs to weaken. The dollar is being used as a weapon against China, Europe, Canada, and anybody else who has trade deals to do. They've all got weak currencies. It's a problem. The US also wants a weak dollar, but they know a strong dollar forces people to the table. But we also know they've already been negotiating. So what we're likely to see is talking the dollar lower from Scott Bessent. It is very important they do so because the US needs to increase its exports. Everybody needs the economic cycle to increase. The Chinese, well, we need them to stimulate because without the Chinese, we don't have a global economy. We have a lopsided economy. And for them to buy US goods, their economy needs to be growing. But they need to stimulate. But if they stimulate with the dollar too strong, their currency peg breaks and they don't want to do that because then you get capital flight. So it's a very fine balancing act of geopolitics and economics and interconnectedness and this kind of global dollar system that they need the US to weaken the dollar. If the US weakens the dollar and injects liquidity into the eurodollar market, which is the offshore dollar market, the Chinese can access it and they can roll their dollar debts. They can start doing quantitative easing. They can start stimulating massively. The global economy can start recovering. They can start buying US goods. Everybody is a winner. So the dollar will come lower. I've known Scott for a long time and he understands the big picture. Crypto, here's Bitcoin, following the same pattern roughly. 2017 has been my base case for a while. Do not expect it to be identical, but, and do not expect it to be going to wherever the scale says, I'm not looking for $1 million Bitcoin. Sure, there's a probability, but it's like 5%. But directionally, we should get this right, and it should continue to rally into the end of the year, into 2025, and maybe into early 26. We'll have to wait and see. But this is what the pattern tells us. It's repeating the same pattern. Bitcoin should be up only from here. And this is the typical post-correction halving. So what we have is the start of the banana zone, which we talked about from about September, and that was when Bitcoin hit 50,000. So the first banana zone phase one, that was this period here as we come up from the sell-off from the halving. Then we have the correction from the banana zone phase one. Happens every time. Then what do we get? The banana singularity. That's the next bit, when everything just goes up. And it makes us all look like geniuses. Every stupid shitcoin we've ever bought goes up. Everything goes up. And we think we're gods, which we're obviously not. We're probably just morons trying to do our best. But luckily, crypto market, it trends up over time, so it kind of covers all sins. As long as you're not too far out the shitcoin curve, you'll generally be fine over time, particularly if you don't this up and stick to the big ones. They generally do fine over time. So it can cover all of your sins, your terrible entry points, all your stupid mistakes. I think it'll be fine. So that's what I'm expecting next. We should be starting now. Let's talk about the dollar again. Dollar is a wrecking ball. Strong dollar lowers economic growth. The US Economic Surprises Index shows that it follows the dollar. The dollar has a 2-month lead. The dollar's strong. The economy slows down. So we're expecting to see the US economy slowing down over the next coming 2 months, and sharply so. Now, the ISM survey, which is the Institute Supply Manager Survey, is the best guide to the business cycle, comes out monthly, has been below 50. 50 is considered sort of very low growth, with below, let's say, 46 being recession. We flirted with recession many times. We never got there, but we've had a slow growth. Well, the economic growth has been relatively strong, and part of that has been pre-election stimulus effects. The other part has been the technology bifurcation. So technology, which has no debt, doesn't care about interest rates. In fact, all the cash earns more interest rates, just make more and more money. That's been exploding. While the services economy, the manufacturing economy, all of that has actually been very sluggish. So below 50, bad. Now the new orders, which is a little more volatile, is starting to tick up. Suggests, you know what? We might all start earning a bit more money, i.e. our businesses earn a bit more money. Economic growth comes back in more meaningful ways for Main Street, for the average person who hasn't really felt like it's been boom time unless you're working in tech or you've been investing in crypto or the markets, I guess. But generally speaking, small cap stocks, all of that's driven by the earnings cycle, which is driven by the ISM. It's really delicious. So financial conditions lead it all. Financial conditions suggest that the ISM is going from 49.3 today to 55. 55 is not yet a full expansion. Look how far the ISM normally gets to. It kind of gets to 60. So that means that on a 9-month basis, the business cycle is going to be growing. Great. The economy is going to be booming, or at least doing a lot better. I think probably booming. And that matters for our crypto bags, because Bitcoin is actually correlated to the ISM. So here's our Bitcoin implied pricing. If we go up to an ISM of 60, we're kind of 300 plus thousand Bitcoin. And if we go higher, we get higher. The big driver of the overall cycle and liquidity and all of it is this business cycle. Liquidity leads it, but Bitcoin is actually highly correlated. Basically, when you cross 50, those are the white lines, which is what we're about to do. Cross 50 on the upside, that's when the real banana zone starts. And then when ISM peaks, that's normally when Bitcoin peaks as well. So we are only at the bottom of the ISM cycle. We're nowhere near the top. So what it tells me is the probability is this cycle is going to go longer or later than certainly the last cycle. Because last cycle, remember, Bitcoin peaked in ISM peaked in March 2021 at a huge level of like 63, 64. We are nowhere near. Even we haven't started the cycle yet. So it's all to play for, which is why it's going to be longer and back-end loaded, and it may go into 2026 first quarter. Let's see how it plays out, but that's looking like it to me. And I've been adjusting these probabilities, over time, but I've always had a decent probability that it's back-end loaded. I also think it might be a bigger cycle than expected. ISM, also a driver of the Bitcoin, of alt season. So ISM crosses 50, people have more money, alt season starts increasing as people start reinvesting their money. So alt season is that small caps in regular equities, same kind of thing. Okay, where else are we? Trying to find the next chart. Macro seasons doesn't really matter, but that's all fine. Macro summer is where we are in the seasons, just by the dip. Part of the don't this up philosophy is by the dip. We are nowhere near the top. You've got nothing to fear except fear itself, or I don't know what you feel. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just normal stuff, right? Market goes up, market goes down. You will get big drawdowns very quickly. You might shit your pants unless you've been around for a couple of cycles. That's fine. You can buy new underwear and it'll all be okay, because the market over time will go up until the business cycle peaks, the liquidity cycle peaks, the financial conditions peak. We're just on the way up. So there's nothing to worry about. Okay, next chart. NASDAQ, this recent correction has also meant dips are for buying. So NASDAQ, number of stocks, a percentage of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average collapsed to the buy zone. Incredible. Great opportunity. Buy the NASDAQ. GMI cycle, Bitcoin cycle top finder, nowhere near. So just buy dips. Previous cycles, I don't think you probably can see all of these colors. We're the purple one. We think we're following the lighter purple one. And that seems to be playing out pretty well. So all good on that. You can see the little mini corrections after the first phase of the banana zone. Had our mini correction. Next phase, look at these puppies. That's what we're coming to. The next phase of the banana zone, the banana singularity, also known as alt season.